Well, folks, in today's video, we're going to be working on this vintage TYCO Century 630 locomotive in the chassis system paint scheme. This locomotive was being sold at a local train store for $5 Canadian, which for an old power torque is a pretty good deal. That's kind of the type of prices you want to find these things at. I have no idea on this locomotive's history. I don't even know if it runs. I haven't taken it out of the box yet, so we're going to take it out. Hopefully it will show some signs of life, but knowing these old power torques, I suspect it's going to have some problems. But in any case, whether this engine runs or not, we're going to service the whole drive. So let's begin. Let's take this thing out of the box and over to the track. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are not big fans of these old power torque locomotives, and you know, I kind of understand it. These are not reliable locomotives by any means, but they can be fun to work on, and you know, especially, you know, if you're maybe a person who had one as a kid or you just want something kind of unusual, they can be enjoyable things to have on the layout, provided you're okay with having stuff which doesn't run as well and is not terribly reliable. But I personally like working on these things. Look at that, this one's actually a Mantua TYCO, so apparently this is an American-made locomotive. That's nice to see. Now, let's see if it will actually start or not. I will say that cosmetically this thing looks to be in really good condition, so I'm hoping that the drive is in similar shape, but the cosmetic shape does not always reflect the working order, and in this case I'm giving the thing power. You can see we got a headlight on, but I'm not hearing anything from the motor, so you know, we know that power is going inside the drive to some extent, but there could be a problem with the brushes, there could be a broken wire going to one of the leads. There's a whole variety of different things that could be wrong with it, but yeah, in any case, it does not seem to want to go. So let's take it back over to the workbench and see if we can figure out why exactly that is. Pretty much all the power torque drives use the same general design. However, with the Century locomotives, instead of having a clip which wraps around the motor, you've actually got two beams. So we're going to try to pull this out, and in previous experiences I've found that this can be a little bit tricky, so I'm just going to try kind of lifting up on this piece of plastic, and I'll just try to kind of wiggle one of the beams out, and then I think the whole drive should just pop out. So I'll just get that out, and then attempt to do the same on the other side. And there's the whole motor assembly. You can see these older ones are actually spring-loaded, which probably helped these trucks stay on the track. I believe TYCO removed this feature in their later models, however. Anyway, I guess from here on we'll just remove this screw at the bottom here. I'm going to grab a slightly more precise screwdriver though. Yeah, there we go. And then you just got to clip on both sides, holding everything in place. Well, the drive looks to be pretty clean. Sometimes you open these things up and they're really greasy or kind of dirty, but I do suspect that something is wrong with the whole motor. Like, this should be turning over and it seems to be kind of seized. There's also a kind of strong smell coming out of it, probably of burnt coils. I'm really hoping the armature's okay. Let's see if this one will make any difference. Wow, that screw is torqued down pretty tightly. Looks like it's also bringing the brush plate with it, which is not excellent. Well, I'm kind of surprised to see that the springs actually look okay. I was kind of expecting them to be all warped. Sometimes when these things have overheated, the springs are not doing their job so well, but like that one looks fine. This commutator is not looking fantastic. I'll try to just kind of clean this up a little bit, but yeah, at least we know the drive's not entirely seized. I can still turn it with the armature. So it's gonna all need some work, but we'll start here. Gaps all seem to be fine. I think it just needs to be polished up a little bit. A lot of people are still asking about this pen. It's called a Fiberglass Pencil. You can find them on Amazon and eBay. They're pretty cheap. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description to one, but in any case, we're just going to use that to polish up the commutator, and it should do a pretty good job at shining it up. Well, that seems to have done the trick. And now it's time for the joys of reinstalling the springs and brushes. This is where you usually end up losing parts. It's possible I've done that correctly, but there's also a pretty strong possibility one of those brushes fell out. So we're going to test the motor before we go doing anything else, just to be sure it's working properly. It might be a bad armature. I mean, who knows? Oh, that's no good. Hey, hear that? Well, the motor is running, so hopefully it has enough torque to power the whole drive. Kind of ironic since it's called a power torque, but in any case, I'm just really happy to hear that, because that means that I did in fact manage to get the brushes and springs back into place correctly. It's probably one of the most difficult things to do working on these old power torques. So yeah, from here on out, basically all I have to do is clean up the wheels, oil everything, and put it all back together, and if we're lucky, we will have a runner out of this. Yeah, I'll just polish up the wheels a little bit. I'm going to use my Track Bright. I think this one's by TYCO, but they're sold under a whole bunch of different brands. Well, we've almost got the whole drive together. I seem to have put this part on backwards, so I'm just going to flip that around quickly, and then we should be able to reinstall the drive. I'm also going to clean up the wheels on the rear truck, because obviously they're just as important for power. Just before we reinstall that, let's just double check that our drive is actually working properly. Well, that's a promising sign. Alright, well, I think she's ready to be taken over to the track. Alright, folks, here it is, the moment of truth. Will our efforts have paid off? Oh, haha, there we go. Well, it looks like we have got our runner. Maybe I spoke too soon. It's back again. I don't know. Yeah, this thing is running just fine. It's actually pretty quiet for a power torque, and you know, the current draw seems to be in check. It's overall a surprisingly good runner. I really thought the motor was going to be done on it, but here it is, zipping around the layout. Well, folks, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. I certainly enjoyed working on this engine, and I am thrilled with the results. I really wasn't expecting it to turn out this well. You know, a lot of these older power torques, the drives are just in such rough shape that, you know, even if you clean everything up and lubricate it properly, they're just not going to run that great. But apparently all the parts were in okay shape. Anyway, I think we're going to finish things off there. Thank you all so much for watching.